we're in for a cracking finale in Paris. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. It honestly is hard to see this game being anything other than a ding-dong battle and, you know, a really fitting end to what has been a decent, entertaining Six Nations this year. And, you know, it's looking very likely that it's going to be, you know, France claiming the title at the end there. But Scotland certainly, you know, I don't think they'll lie down for them. They seem to do well in Paris. So let's hope for a very entertaining game to kind of sign off the tournament. Okay, so let's have a look at the the details of the game. So it is France versus Scotland. It's on Saturday, 15th of March 2025. It's in the Stade de France, and it is an 8 o'clock kickoff. Last year was Scotland 16, France 20, and in 2023, France 32, Scotland 21. And the odds, France 8-1 on favourites, Scotland 8-1, and 45-1 to draw. So, you know, bookies basically feel that France definitely going to win the game and therefore claim the title, because very unlikely that if France win the game that they don't win the title because of points difference at the moment. Okay, so let's have a look at the two teams. So we're going to start with the home team, France. Let me just pull it up. Give me a second here. Excuse me. Okay, so front row for France, we got Gross, Mauvaka, and Antonio. Then we have Flamand and Guillard. The back in the second row, back row then is Gross, Baudin, and Aldrit. Halfbacks, Luku and Entamac. Left wing, Bielbiari. The centres, Mofana and Fiku. Right wing, Pinot, and fullback is Ramos. On the bench then you have Machon, Bai, Aldaheri, Aradu, Miafu, Jegu, Jalonch, and Lagaric. Okay, now let's have a look at the Scotland team. So front row is Schumann, Cherry, and Xander Fagerson. Second row, Brown and Gilchrist. The back row, Richie Darge and Matt Fagerson. The halfbacks, White and Russell. Left wing, Van der Merwe. Centres, Jordan and Jones. Right wing, Graham, and fullback is Kinghorn. On the bench then you have Ashman, Sutherland, Hurd, Gray, Sykes, Muncaster, Doby, and McDowell. Okay, so let's talk about the changes to each of the teams. So starting with France. France kind of staying pretty much with continuity, really. Maxime Luku in for the injured Dupont. Luku was absolutely sensational when he came on against Ireland, and just showing how much talent France have available to them. Then Gail Fuku returning at 13, with Baresi dropping out of 23. So to have done so well to be in this position at this stage without Fiku as well, again speaks to the depth that France have compared to other teams. And then to underline that as well, Nolan Lagaric coming onto the bench, another absolutely stellar player who can't even get into the 23 normally, because you have Dupont at 9 and then Luku being so good as his backup. But if he has to come on, no worries about him either. He's just so good too. Then France gone for a 7-1 split on this one, so looking to do what they did against Ireland, forwards just absolutely steamrolling, winning all the collisions, just being too physical for Scotland. And then when they think, okay, well maybe the game, they're going to get tired in the second half. Nope, 7 more forwards coming on. Nobody's getting tired, apart from you maybe. So just shows how much depth France have, and also I think the fact that now, because they've had that depth for a while, for a long time, right? But they've basically worked out a system now in their squad where people have their roles. They know what their role is, whether it's impact off the bench or starting or wherever. And everybody seems to have bought into things as well. And it seems to be a bit more harmonious because we have seen problems, in the French camp previously. But yeah, it seems like everyone is kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, and everyone is enjoying the role as well. And obviously really enjoy the role if they lift that trophy on Saturday. On to France then. So in terms of their changes, a few more than for Scotland than France. So you got Gregor Brown starts in the second row with Johnny Gray dropping to the bench. Then Matt Ferguson is in for the injured Jack Dempsey. Marshall Sykes and Ben Muncaster come onto the bench. Jamie Dobie on the bench instead of George Horn. And then Kyle Rowe drops out at 23, and they go for a 6-2 split rather than the 7-1 that France have. But again, that 6-2 is pretty much because they're worried about the number of forwards that France are going to bring on all at the one time. But you look at the changes, I think Gregor Brown definitely deserves a start over Johnny Gray. Jack Dempsey was brought in into the back row because they felt like Matt Ferguson wasn't giving them enough go forward. So I think if Dempsey had been fit, he definitely would have stayed in there with Ferguson staying on the bench. Sykes coming onto the bench then as well, another option. But the one I'm most excited about is Ben Muncaster. He's been fantastic in the URC this season, really tearing it up. And he has that kind of like Gavin Coombs type quality of being able to get over from short range to score a try. So you may see him off the bench coming, and picking and driving to get over to score a try for Scotland at a crucial time in the game. So that's one prediction I'm going to make, is that he's going to do that. He's going to come on somewhere, Scotland may be camped on the line or off, splitting off, off a ruck or coming out of a maul or something. He's going to get over and get the ball down to score. Then Jamie Dobie instead of Horn on the bench. So obviously looking for something slightly different from 9 when he comes on later on. And then Kyle Rowe dropping out to 23 simply because they got the extra forward in there instead. So, in terms of then, let's talk about both teams, because not that many changes compared to, like, I've just finished doing the previews for the other two games, and there's a lot more kind of changes in there. But in terms of the game itself, so France, favourites for the game, but also favourites for the title. Bonus point win in this one guarantees them the title, no matter what happens in the other games. And a win without a bonus point probably should win in the title as well, simply because their points difference compared to England, who are basically the only team who could catch them. If France win, Ireland can't win the title. Like, let's just clear it up straight away. Because Ireland aren't going to be getting 6 match points against Italy to make up that 2-point deficit. So if France win without a bonus point, the only other team that could win the title would be England. But France have such a good points difference compared to them. Like, they're 100 and something to, I think, like 20 for England. So 86 points difference. I think it's 106 to 20 positive for both of them. So, and if France are winning, that's going to increase. So England have to absolutely, forget about records in terms of like scores for England in Wales or wherever. You're talking about basically the easily the biggest away win in Six Nations history is what England would have to produce there. France, I think, broke that record actually against Italy, and that's why that's required from England. So because of that, you pretty much look at it and you think, okay, well, that points difference is pretty much an extra match point for France, because anyone finishing on the same match points to them is going to have a worse points difference. So therefore, France will win the title. France basically just have to win the game, I think, and they're champions. No Dupont for this one, but Luku was absolutely fantastic against Ireland, so no issues with him. And then Le Garrett coming off the bench as well. Another brilliant player that they can call on there as well. So there aren't going to be any issues at 9 for them, I don't think. And then you look at some of the other changes, like Fuku coming back in, absolutely fantastic player, to have back in there. Then you got like BRE and Pinot on the wings, try scoring machines. BRE was fantastic against Ireland, and for me, he's got to be in the conversation for player of the tournament, I think. Then you got Ramos at the back there, just metronome with the kicking, but also, has so much more to his game as well. Coming into the line, being able to kind of cover the backfield as well. Just a fantastic player there. And you look all through the France team, just so much quality there. And even, the players that have come in, because of injuries before the tournament, I think have done really well. And then the bench as well. The bench have delivered every time they've come on. And that's been a big thing for France through the tournament, and that's why I think they're in this position of being such heavy favourites to take the title on Saturday. Is because that bench should come on, and basically other than the England game, and it's not that they didn't have impact on the England game. It's just that it was the first half really, I think, that France lost that game in. So you can't put so much blame on the bench for that one. So I think they have had impact all through the tournament, and certainly against Ireland. They had a lot of impact. That was kind of the period where France just pulled away, and there was no way Ireland were coming back after that. So they would hope for something similar against Scotland. And if they do, then, instead of it being a kind of a tense last kind of quarter of the game, it could be like party atmosphere. And when you're in the Stade, I've been in the Stade de France before when it's party mode, like I was there in 2007 in the World Cup, where France kind of beat us pretty handily, and all the French people were singing. Some of them were kind of jeering us because they could see we were wearing Ireland jerseys, but for the most part, most of them were fairly respectful. But it's as an away fan, it's not a great place to be when France have their tails up. You can enjoy the rugby, but you certainly can't enjoy the what's happening to your team. And that could be the case in this one. If France, if both these teams play to their absolute potential, then that could be what happens. I think at the end is that France are just that much better than Scotland, and better than pretty much most of the teams in the tournament, as well, as we saw against Ireland last week. But not necessarily going to be that way, because Scotland, we'll talk about them now. So far it's been a pretty disappointing tournament for them. Started off with that win against Italy, where Italy came back at them, then didn't turn up against Ireland, didn't take their chances against England, and then they played really well in the first half against Wales, and not so much in the second half. So they haven't produced an 80-minute performance all through the tournament. That you could say, okay, they were good first half and second half. So, they're definitely going to have to produce their best performance of the tournament to cause an upset in this one. One thing in their favour is that Scotland don't seem to fear going to Paris the way they do. Like, I know they had a nice run at Twickenham, like, won other than this year, won the last two there, right? But Twickenham, for the most part, has been, not a happy hunting ground for them. Certainly Aviva hasn't been a happy hunting ground for them. But going to Paris, they seem to be able to go there and play their own style of rugby. Maybe it's just the way, the opposition kind of thing, right? That against France, they feel like they can play their own style. Now, sometimes, it doesn't quite come off, as in 2 years ago, where, both teams were playing some expansive stuff, but France just had too much in the end. But they have gone to Paris and they have caused upsets over there in high scoring games. So, the fear factor, I don't think will be there for them. Also, Scotland do have a very, very slim chance of winning the title, and it is very slim, but it's still there. But for that to happen, Italy would have to win the first game, Wales would have to win the second game, and then Scotland would have to beat France by 52 points. And then they would be champions. And what a night that would be. Nobody would ever forget that. That would be like the most amazing end to any Six Nations ever, for that to happen. It's not very likely to happen, but it certainly would be, it would be fantastic rugby if it did. But I think for Scotland, the thing that they want to do is, it's been a disappointing tournament for them. They want to kind of have a positive spin on it coming out of it. And that pretty much means, first of all, a decent performance in this game, but also if they can get a win and have 3 wins, 3 wins and 2 losses rather than 2 wins and 3 losses, and feel like some kind of progress has been made, because at the moment it feels like they've actually gone backwards this year compared to other years. And if it feels like with that group of players, you're starting to wonder, has Townsend got as much as he can out of them? And is it maybe time to give somebody like Franco Smith a go at them if he wants to take the job? But, it may be a case that a new coach coming in could actually get this Scotland team to deliver. Because you look at the talent in there and you feel like, in individual games, they've produced some really good stuff. But overall, it feels like it's a Scotland team that have under-delivered on their potential. So, I think that there is certainly, for Scotland, stuff riding on this. And something as well that I talked about in the round preview is that Scotland not so good at kind of being the favourites, having that favourites tag, but they do love being the party pooper. So that would be just like them to actually do that to France. So it's kind of going to be interesting as well. And in terms of the overall title, it's I've got a lot of kind of opinions on obviously who I want to win, but who I think deserves to win. So first of all, I want Ireland to win the title. Not very likely. I'd have to say that. I don't think Ireland will win the title, but I'd obviously be over the moon if they did. And if Ireland aren't going to win the title, then the team I would like to win the title is England. And maybe some people thinking, oh, why is an Irish guy cheering for England? But I don't have that kind of anti-English bias in me. So I'd like to see England win the title if Ireland don't. But who do I think deserves to win the title is a different question. I think France deserve to win the title because when you look back at the tournament, you look at they were lucky not to win over in Twickenham, so they potentially should be going for a Grand Slam now. That amazing performance against Italy, then backed up by another absolutely stellar performance against Ireland as well. So in terms of performances through the tournament, I think they've been the best performing team, and they absolutely deserve to win the title. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't be happy if England won the title. Again, I'm going to be cheering for England to win it. But if France win it, I'm not going to be disappointed because they deserve to win it. And they've probably deserved, over, like, you look at their team over the last few years, and they've been close on occasions, that they've probably deserved to win a title over that for their performance over that period anyway. So it feels like it is kind of their time, their turn to win the Six Nations. So, and it's probably most likely that that's going to happen. And in terms of prediction for this game, I think it will be a cracking game. I think both teams are going to get bonus points in this game as well, try bonus points. But I think France are going to win it, and France are going to be absolutely deserved Six Nations champions for 2025. Okay, so that's the end of that one. Let me know what you think down in the comments.